Okay, Mr. Pearson, introduction.
Hello, my name's Steve Pearson. I am running for Commissioner, District 2. Hoping to have a second term. I am a lifelong resident of Carroll County. I live in Camden, and I am the people's voice. That's all I got.
Really, that's it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm easy.
Okay. So, Steve, thanks for coming in today. Sorry you couldn't make last Sunday, but what is it? Why are you running again? Why are you doing that?
I think the people need to have a voice of the working man. I mean, I work 40 hours a week, plus do the commissioners. You don't get that very often in politics anymore. It's normally a business owner or a retired individual that stepped in to do the office.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to know that I'm a full-time worker, I'm a hard worker, and I work for the people.
How do you work for the people? You've been in office almost 4 years now.
4 years. I get phone calls all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I try to help solve their solutions or put them in the right directions of where they need to be. I get a lot of calls for road work. A lot here lately, a lot of area plans since we've been having a lot of nuisance problems.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of guide them to the area plan area and tell them who they need to talk to get the problem solved.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't get their answer they need, they can more welcome to come back to me.
Mm-hmm. So, you've had some struggles in the last 4 years because after you got elected, you took a full-time job at Purdue.
Yes.
And you've missed some meetings,
Yes.
and you requested
Night meetings.
2 or 3 times. I mean,
Several times. Yeah.
several times to have at least some night meetings to help you because you need to work.
Right.
And those were all, the other 2 did not support that.
Right. I use about 90% of my vacation time to
Mm-hmm.
attend the meetings.
You're gonna get, if you get elected again, you're gonna get that changed.
I'll ask again to have some night meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on who all wins.
Yes, it does.
Yep.
Mr. Brown's opponent, Jason Burns, would prefer night meetings, I believe. I think that's what he said. And how do you feel, what do you think about, because when you have day meetings, you exclude those who are working,
The working people.
like yourself.
Right.
That's right.
Right. Well, thanks to the Comet, they do the video recordings now. I also believe that if somebody wants the county's business, they will attend a night meeting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They would. Because everybody else has night meetings, all your local,
Mm-hmm.
was it the council meetings around Carroll County?
Town council meetings, town
that's the word I was
councils,
looking for.
Mhm.
Yes.
city council,
City councils.
area plan,
Right.
health, board of health.
And we do have some evening meetings to discuss things because they want me there.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that. I wasn't asking for all night meetings. Maybe like one where you don't have a whole lot going on, have in the evenings, or vice versa.
Well, the criticism of that is nobody comes.
Well, I don't think no one's used to having night meetings.
So you think if you had standard night meetings,
I
you
think
might get.
It's a good possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I know my other 2 commissioners, they've tried it in the past and didn't have much luck. But I think we got some more people wanting to attend more meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got some people right now that take vacation time like I do to attend the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm the commissioner, and I want to be there as much for the people as possible.
Do you have any thoughts about? This is not one of my questions. Do you have any thoughts though about when there are day meetings about mostly a lot of department heads sit in those meetings, whether
Mm-hmm.
they have business or not.
Right.
Got any thoughts about how that ought to go?
Well, to me, it's a touchy situation. I think they should come to the meetings, but I don't know. But they're elected officials, so they got their first deputies.
Right.
that can attend the office.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's both there, and I don't know if that's fair to the public or not.
And sometimes even more.
Even more.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So, um, speaking of area plan and Board of Health, specifically appointments to those two groups, the commissioners make appointments
Right.
to those two groups. And Mr. Brown stated last week that the commissioners have nothing to do with the area plan or the Board of Health. Would you agree with that?
Not so much. I mean, we do have an appointment. That's the person who talks for us. We just gotta make sure we get the right person in there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to get people to go into the area plan and the health departments because the area plan had a bad eye for a long time. And at this time, I'm very proud with where we're at with our area plan.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Mr. Yates is doing a wonderful job in there. He's busting his behind
Mm-hmm.
in there for us, and he's always calling me,
Mm-hmm.
asking my suggestions. I'm like, I am you're the commissioner, but you got to go to your board,
Mm-hmm.
go through your board,
Mm-hmm.
and we make the final decision. I don't want to be singled out. To me, it's a group effort.
Mm-hmm.
We got to work as a group.
Mm-hmm. And I remember not too long ago, you all as in the commissioners, after a complaint by someone up on Horseshoe Bend about a property that a tree has been on top of the house for years and things like that, you directed Angie Brown, who was the environmental sanitarian at that time, to send that person a certified letter. Remember that?
Yes,
Yeah. So you do have something to do.
yes.
Yeah. And did you follow up to see if she ever did that?
I did not. I'd probably drop the ball on that. I don't micromanage.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you have the right people in there, you don't need to micromanage.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to micromanage, then you better have someone else in there that will do it.
Okay. So how far do you think you should go with that kind of a situation? I mean, it's a nuisance situation. It's maybe a zoning issue,
Right.
and it's not nearly resolved.
Right. Well, I get kind of confused in that area where my actual role is. That's why we have an attorney
Mm-hmm.
and area plan, and I believe the Board of Health has their own attorney.
Nope, don't think so.
Yeah, no, they don't. They use ours, I believe.
I believe you're correct.
And they each have their own boards. So if I don't like something, I have to follow a chain of command.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you ask the individual that's doing the project or the report.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it's filled out and done right. If it's not then you go to the board.
How do you know if it isn't filled out and done correctly?
I have no clue. I really don't.
Okay. Another thing about, and area plan is much the same, as far as you appoint people to the area plan.
Sure.
And the other thing, though, even though your running mate said you had nothing to do with the area plan, in fact, you approve the zoning ordinance.
Right.
Or don't approve.
Right.
You know, whatever it is, it's your zoning ordinance.
The zoning board and is it the rezone or the
BCA?
yeah, VZA, they got their own boards, and we put people in place for a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and we trust their word.
Mm-hmm.
And when they bring it to us, it's either a yay or nay.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if someone, let's just do an example of the last zoning out by my father's house, where they did that out there on 500 North. I had interest in that myself.
Oh, that was with industrial to agriculture.
Right.
Okay.
One day I might buy that property out there, and I know the people who own that property are wonderful people. They wouldn't do anything like that, but you never know what the next generation will do.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I wanted to put like a limit on it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I trust in those people, and I went with the people's voice that time.
Mm-hmm. But wouldn't you really need to be concerned about that very thing every time you rezone?
I do.
I mean,
Right. I always
I mean,
question it. What's next?
well, and you have a comprehensive land use plan. which I don't think anybody in the area plan is very familiar with. Are you familiar with it at all?
I heard it through you when I first got on, my first time as a commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
And it was back in what? How was
16.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the plan itself was it one in the 70s?
No, that's the zoning
That's
ordinance.
the zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The plan is probably 10 years old now, and the plan, it kind of helps direct where the zone, what kind of zoning, yeah, yeah. There's a situation right now that one of the BZA members, longtime BZA members, who knows the zoning ordinance pretty well, has discovered that, in fact, there are two versions of the zoning ordinance as it applies to CAFOs.
Did not know that.
One of them is more favorable to factory farms, and the other one is a little more favorable to the people around the factory farm. How would you want that to be resolved?
Well, I think they need to sit down and figure it out themselves, because they're the ones that we put in there. But we're a farming community. I understand both sides. And to me, it's a tough decision. It really is. I mean, my father lives on a road that's got three or four CAFOs within 5 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the smell don't bother me that bad, because I used to work hired hand on a farm, a farming community. I can understand some people moving out from the city down here, wanting to be in our beautiful county, build a nice home, have that smell, and they're not used to it. I mean, you got to be compassionate both ways, and you got to figure out how to make it fair.
And so, how would you handle, now that you know that there is this situation? I mean, you have appointees on the BZA, you have appointees on the area plan. And this particular BZA member continues to bring it up very nicely. He hasn't stood on the desk and screamed. Yeah, but it goes nowhere when he makes a suggestion that they need to look at this.
Well, after this interview, I'll get the names of the people I need to talk to.
Okay, I'll do one more. What's your plan for the current morgue?
The current morgue. So this thing I've been trying to do something with for the last 2 years. I always come up with a kind of a temporary solution. I tried to put them in one of our new ambulance garages we've had built, because there's room. Got shot down on that. Our current morgue building is just uninhabitable, even for the deceased. Nice way to say it. And I wouldn't want my family members in there.
Commissioners are in charge of all of the buildings.
All buildings, yes, ma'am.
So how on your watch did it get to this point?
It was to that point before my watch. I don't know how it got there and why it got that way. I don't know. I don't want to bash nobody, but it should have never came to this point. It should have been taken care of and attentions to. I have talked to our current coroner. She's come up with a lot of good suggestions. My suggestion is still down here by the railroad tracks in the back of the old ambulance, back of the ambulance garage. There's room. It can be done.
You're not getting any traction with that, though.
I know. I believe I have one on board with me.
And then circling back around to my question, what are you going to do with that building then?
That building, actually, it's supposed to be going in front of the council to be sold. There's neighboring properties. People have interest in that building over in Camden. Because we voted to send it to the council to be sold.
That was the resolution.
Yes.
You're asking for a resolution.
Yes.
And if a friend of yours wants to purchase that, are you going to recuse yourself?
Yes. Because, well, everybody interested in it is my neighbors. So, Well, it'll probably be a bid processing. I've never had to go through this. It'd be a learning process for me, but I don't think I'd have any pull either way. It would just go to the highest bidder.
Okay, so you're expecting it to be bid out.
Yes. Unless there's some new plan that I don't know about.
Mm-hmm. Um, Gonna hold off on the jail thing for just a couple more things. But I wanted to ask a couple of questions about 9/11 dispatch.
Yes.
Costs continue to grow.
Always will.
How are you going to pay for it? I mean,
It's getting hard. It's getting hard. We got that new tax in that's helped out a lot.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Why will costs continue to grow?
because of technology. The technology that's involved in 911 is no longer just answering a phone and writing it on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
It's all got to be cataloged, logged, saved. I mean, I think there's $150,000, $200,000 worth of computers over there,
Not surprised. Yeah.
and they break down.
Mm-hmm.
They break down, and
So
we had some money put back, or we got a grant to get the new consoles, not the consoles, the new system, and a backup system, which I believe is going in sometime next month.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we finally got everybody in lined up to put up the new backup system over in
Mm-hmm.
Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Manpower is always going to be, emergency services is a black hole to the community no matter how you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a cost. If you want the services, you have to pay.
How much is it costing right now? Do you know?
I believe her last budget was 938,000, roughly.
That would be for 2020.
Yes, this year I believe.
Do you know what she's asking for?
No, I haven't. I haven't went through the final budget.
Uh-huh.
And
But
I
you
think
did. But you did approve
that we did approve. Well,
sending to. Yeah.
See, that's another thing of micromanaging. I believe the people we have in place are responsible. They know what they need in those areas. And 911 is probably that, and EMS is probably our biggest expense.
So whatever they say they need, you expect they get?
No. I always.
Because that's kind of what it sounded like.
Right.
Yeah.
I always question why they need it. I did dispatch for 9.5 years, so I understand a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
I know what the pressure they go through. Downtimes you don't do nothing but sit there and wait for something to happen.
And do you need two dispatchers during that time?
Well,
This is
know.
your thought. This
Yeah.
is your.
I always want 2 dispatchers there because you can have 3 phone calls at the same time. One may not be as important as the other one.
Mm-hmm.
I think we always need 2, just for the safety for the people.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're a small community, during a storm you can get 300 or 400 phone calls within an hour.
Would you consider contracting, outsourcing dispatch?
My personal feelings, this is me talking, not for the people. No.
I mean, not for the people, because you're on camera and
I know.
you're running for
this
office.
This is my personal.
Uh-huh.
But if is that what the people would want, then that's what I would vote for, because that's why I'm here.
So if you had 50 people call you and say, this is way too expensive anymore, let's look at other options,
Right.
we
We would look at other options.
Okay.
Right now, you take your local people that works with us, they know the area. So if you say, Bicycle Bridge, there's a major accident,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because someone's reading the name on the bridge, our dispatchers are going to know where that's at
Mm-hmm.
and send the right
And you
people.
think other people can't learn that?
Yeah, but it would take them a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're doing, let's say if we hook up with another surrounding county, you'd have to learn their little towns and little nicks and
Mm-hmm.
names that's given to roads and stuff besides the actual road number.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If the costs continue to rise, I attended the Thursday morning council meeting, and it wasn't a happy time for many department heads, and that was one of them. But it sounds like as commissioner, you would support costs rising. I mean, not that you're asking for it,
I'm not asking for
but
it, but
if they do, you're willing to make sacrifices. I mean, what are you willing to give up the trash transfer station to keep dispatch going? I'm just wondering.
right, that'd be a situation would come up that you just have to figure out when it showed up. I know it's a growing situation now. Um, that's a tough question for anybody who's sitting in this office to try to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
I want-
Do
I-
you
I
look
want
at
our
projections? I don't hear you all talking about projections, and it's going to be you making the decisions.
Right.
You all who are in office, and probably in the next 4 years, if costs continue to rise, and what the economy is expected to do in the next 2-3 years.
Right. Well, right now, look, we got a big concern with the lake. Everybody's going to come in wanting to reduce their taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's a sad situation over there. Me as a commissioner, I don't have much fight in that because that's federal. And we can voice our opinion.
Mm-hmm.
We can support our people, which
Mhm.
we've had to help fight this. But this situation here is, I think, is due to lack of water.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think the state has been very fair to the lower people on the lake
Mm-hmm.
in Freeman because Schaefer's got all the water. And, I mean, they could have did a happy medium and make everybody happy, but
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't my call. That would have been my call if I was in charge of it. But I've had a lot of people call me from the lake,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been up to the lake and seen it, and
It's
sad.
horrible. It's horrible. Mm-hmm. I think we ran pictures of it in the newspaper.
But back to the 911.
Okay, yeah.
It's always going to be a money hole.
So,
And it's also a lawsuit. So if you don't have the proper equipment, that you can be sued.
so what are you willing? I mean, you can't keep everything if costs keep going up for everything. EMS has gone up. He's way over $1 million now per year, and not saying anything bad about Doug because he's a swell guy, and I think he's got his finger on the pulse of what needs to happen. But would you be willing to curtail some of the ambulance service?
No.
How about Carroll Manor?
No, not really, because I like the Carroll Manor.
You
but
think the taxpayers should be paying?
That's why they're supposed to be self-supporting themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And if it gets below the numbers, to me that's a tough thing because that is a big landmark for Carroll County.
Mm-hmm.
We do have our own local citizens in there, and that would be a decision I'd have to make when that comes. I don't know if I can do that. Say that right now.
Yeah. Well, and nothing is.
Because I don't want to put anybody into a panic going around saying I'm going to close them.
Well, I know, and
And that's what will happen.
and absolutely, just because I brought up outsourcing 911, but
Right.
this is a serious office that you're running for,
Mhm.
and these are serious issues. The amount of money that goes into some of these services is outstanding, and much more than when you were on the council.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
yes,
think the last time the ambulance service when I was on the council was a little over 700,000.
I think you're right, and everybody was having a fit then.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, well, we built these two great big new buildings, and you got the upkeeps on those.
Mm-hmm.
You got the third one here in town.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they cost a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Good, qualified people, not cheap.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the equipment that, because I think some of that equipment is state mandate that we have to have our services, like on the life supports
And you're talking about the ambulance
and
service.
the ambulance services.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
I
So,
think we've got wonderful people in our emergency services all the way around.
so just to kind of regroup here about 911 and the costs.
It's a blackjack sheet.
you have no plan.
I don't have a plan at this time. No, I do not.
Okay. Do you think it's right for some county employees to get bonuses and some not?
County employees getting bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think.
County employees in the prosecutor's office get bonuses, as does the 4D person.
That comes out of his own fund.
They're still county employees.
Still county employees.
And
But
in fact,
also,
we
they just follow some of our guidelines, not all.
why is that?
State rules. I think I tried to understand that the last time
Mm-hmm.
when Rob was in office.
Do you think it's fair that
No.
some county employees get
No.
bonuses and some do
Because,
not? And
to be
there's
honest with you, I'd like to give all my county employees who do outstanding jobs
mm-hmm.
bonuses, but I can't because of state rules and regulations. They don't give out bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
It's taxpayers' money. I think they ought to be paid more, all my employees, so we can keep good qualified people. But county bonuses, just a few. No, I don't agree with that.
So would you take steps to stop it?
I will look into it because I thought it stopped when I was on council.
Oh,
Because I thought that's when it stopped when we was on council, when I was on there with.
no, there's been quite a bit of discussion about it at council meetings and budget hearings. The prosecutor insists that pretrial diversion is not county money.
Right.
And
that's what we ran into the last.
but according to the consultant for the council, who's been an auditor and all sorts of, and she really knows Jackie Clements,
Mm-hmm.
and you know it is county money, and the council appropriates county money.
I have to see the IC codes on it and see how it actually reads.
Yeah, well,
There's a bunch of touchy things in there.
and there are some counties around who don't allow the prosecutor to do what this prosecutor is allowed to do. Bonuses don't happen in Tippecanoe County. Things like that, you know.
And that falls back on the council who's allowing it then. They should direct the auditor not to issue those checks.
Well, there might have to be and some I think were not checks. I think they were under book, as it was stated by the president of the county council last Thursday morning. Off book is what he said. Yeah. So.
I don't know how that would work out. I don't know if that's.
Yeah. Well, you might want to watch that video. Yeah. I'm not sure I got it up yet, but so I'm thinking you're not too much in favor of some, if not all.
Right.
A little bit about CAFOs. Should the commissioners play a bigger role in how much separation there is between residential development and farms, factory farms?
Well, farming's not what it used to be. When I was growing up, yeah, you had some hog barns.
Mm-hmm.
They were out running in their lots, running through the creeks and.
But here we are in 2020.
2000,
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got.
And you see, you know, the commissioners kind of don't say too much. You listen. You always listen.
We listen.
Mm-hmm.
We are a farming community, but there will be a time where we can have to probably put a limit on. I think we got 95 now in our county.
It ranges from that to 102 or something like that.
Because I know there's some new ones that's just built.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like sometimes they've got 3 buildings set, if that's considered one CAFO, if that's each individual
No,
CAFO.
that's one, if it's owned by one.
Right.
If the permit says one, yeah.
And just like everything else in the world, everything changes. Farming has become more efficient.
Bigger.
Bigger. Because the little guys got bought out because the other guy had a good year. I think they're in the future that, you know, you gotta put your trust in your farmer. Your farmer knows his rules and regulations, knows where to apply and not to apply his manure.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we had an issue south where Friends had a CAFO put in front of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And now they no longer get along and they feud all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We get phone calls from them all the time.
So what kind of role should the commissioners be playing in that?
Well, they followed all the rules we have in place now when they put that in.
But what kind of role should the commissioners be playing in that? Should you hands off?
I think we need to leave it to our area plans to issue the permits.
But you establish the zoning ordinance.
Right, but
and they issue
draw them up for us to approve. And we should have some more say in those.
You do. I mean, you don't have to pass anything,
Right,
everything
we
that
don't.
comes, and I mean, they haven't. Commissioners in the past haven't.
CAFOs, I mean, I like what they produce, it tastes good,
Mm-hmm.
but they feed the world. Carroll County in Indiana itself is one of the largest hog producers
Mm-hmm.
around. And to me that's saying something that we've got a lot of good farmers. We've had some issues and we had some spills, but it's a touchy situation to talk about because
I know.
you don't know who you're gonna.
I'm not
upset.
asking you easy ones.
Yeah, I know. What's up with that? No, this problems I get all the time, and I deal with them one at a time as I get them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been, our last area plan guy, I had him do some studies on CAFOs for us,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, he resigned and left, and I didn't get none of those results.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of waiting for Mr. Yates to
Mm-hmm.
get his feet dug in good and hard
Mm-hmm.
and ask him to do the same for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go to the TIF district and the redevelopment commission.
Big open land that's not being used.
The commissioners appoint members to the redevelopment commission.
Yes.
And, the TIF money comes from captured property tax.
Right. But our member don't have much of a voice.
Who is your member?
I think it's Mr. Blue. He's not a voting factor.
Yes, he is.
No, he's on another board on the voting factor. He's our appointee. There's two different on that. I think Blue's on there for us. And he's on another board for TIF too.
There's the redevelopment authority and then the redevelopment commission. And Plu sits on the redevelopment commission. I believe he sits there as from the council, as does Mr. Ryder.
Okay.
And I believe your appointments include Monty Edging, Larry Trapp, and Michelle Cox.
I thought we appointed Blue. Okay.
I don't think so, but just to kind of the redevelopment commission is supposed to have a budget.
Right. And we never get to see it.
They don't have one.
They showed us some paperwork to try to get their money again for next year.
Well, I think what they showed you was their commitment to use everything that they capture.
Right.
But according to IC 36-7-14-3B, a redevelopment commission and a department of redevelopment are subject to oversight by the legislative body of the unit, including review of the legislative body of the commission's and department's annual budget. So, where would you stand on something like that?
Well, I've put my foot down on them here because I'm only doing 1-year contracts. I didn't sign no 10-year contracts.
That's the Economic Development
No, that's
Corporation.
economic. That's right.
Yeah.
I get those confused.
Mm-hmm. No, your appointees run the redevelopment commission and the two from the county council. But if you have no budget, that means you have no appropriation. yet money is spent.
See, you're teaching me something today.
About all the time, don't I?
You're killing me.
Well, I don't mean to kill you. I would like for you to think.
Right.
Because
Well,
if you want to be elected and you want to serve for the next 4 years, these things are going to become very important because they have nearly over $4 million. And,
we have no clue where it's at.
well, sure you know where it's at. It's in the bank.
It's in the bank,
But it's not handled according to statute. And so...
something like the State Board of Accounts need to get involved in.
Could
Because
be.
that's over my head, to be honest with you, on that, a lot of that.
Except that you're a commissioner.
Right, yeah.
And you appoint those people, or 3 out of the 5.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe 1 or 2, at least 1.
Well, see, I think I said first of the last year and this year, I wanted everybody we appoint to report to us, and that's never happened. So that'll be, again, one of the things I'll ask for when I'm reelected.
Can you do more than ask? Can you make it happen?
Yeah, well, we tried to remove a board member before and we got sued, so I'll have to talk to our attorney on what steps we need to take to make this happen.
Well, you don't have to remove anybody. You can just say...
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but when you ask for stuff and you don't get it, then then you have to have somebody there with the legal knowledge to guide you to the right place. Because not everybody can just go up and say, hey, you can't bully them and make them give it to you.
I have to make a note here, because... Okay, the commissioners... Would you agree, I guess, that the commissioners set the tone for how county employees behave, manage their offices, think about the county?
I expect everybody who is an elected official to do their job. On not my appointees, the county commissioners' appointees who assign jobs to.
Do you believe the commissioners set the tone?
They should. They should be the.
Do they?
Right now? Couldn't answer that. Because I'm not for sure. Because I try to show everybody respect and how I do my own, Like, I do lawn care, I do commissioners, and I do my full-time job. And I like people to think, hey, he's a hard-working individual, and I want to do the same for the county. And I think I do, and I believe the others too. We're not allowed to talk outside anywhere because of open door laws. And sometimes it's hard. You don't know what goes on until you actually get into the meeting.
There was a time when an employee was called insubordinate in a meeting. And
okay, I remember that one.
Yeah. And this person, the commissioner who said it, said he knew every time this person leaves the room, he calls the commissioner stupid. And he's never had such insubordination.
I believe that's a personal beef between them two, and I'm not going to comment on that one.
But you would be their employer,
Right.
and that would be a personnel issue that was brought out into the public.
And I know that's not happened.
What do you mean?
I know the individual that said that he was doing that, and he's not doing that.
But my point is, if the commissioners set the tone in your meetings for professionalism, and then that type of thing happens to a county employee, and I did, should you should you have said?
During that meeting, I told him that should be a personal thing between them two, and it shouldn't have been in the public meeting.
Did you say that out loud?
No, I told it to him.
So as far as the public knows, you agreed with what was said.
No, because I got up and I talked to the individual.
Okay,
after the meeting,
but
but the public was still there.
you understand that, it was recorded. And
He was recording at that one?
yeah,
Okay. I
yeah.
didn't think he was recording it.
I've been recording for more than a year now. Time flies.
It does.
Yeah, and that was last March. So yeah,
Yeah,
I was
right before the pandemic.
well, yeah, but I was recording,
Okay.
and so it's
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if it was on video, you should be able to see him look over and tell him that. He was kind of quiet,
okay.
but I believe that was personal between them two.
And
They're both adults and they should fix it.
and in the future, if something like that happened, would you do anything different than what you did?
I probably would have said point of order in the conversation. And, even though this is my 4th year, you still learn every day.
Yeah, I know.
You still learn.
What groups do you represent the county on? You're in the Northwest Solid Waste District?
Yes,
Okay. What else?
that's it. That's the only one I've got.
You're not in Kirpsey? You don't do Kirpsey?
I couldn't attend the meetings, so that's Lauren.
Okay.
I was on the 911 board.
Yeah.
They was having the meetings at 1 o'clock, so it wasn't fair
Mm-hmm.
for me not to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked Lauren to take that.
Okay. The commissioners in the Economic Development Income Tax Budget fund EDC, Economic Development Corporation, and the county chamber with income tax revenue. And plus the Delphi Chamber now. There was some funding there.
Yeah, it's for the old settlers.
Of all the tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars spent on those three, and this wasn't, I mean, I believe you funded the Delphi Chamber last year at some level. I don't remember what.
It was for the gazebo, I thought.
What do you think the return on your investment has been?
Well, we didn't get to have the old settlers with what we did last year.
Mm-hmm.
And she used that for more, I believe she said she used it for more advertisement for the county to get people to come.
Who?
Julie Lecky.
Okay, that's the
That's
county
the
chamber.
Okay. Delphi Chambers.
How about EDC?
Economic Development.
I know. You don't exactly agree with the
Right.
other two commissioners.
Right.
It seems.
I mean,
Do you think you're getting your return on investment there?
no. My personal opinion, no.
Mm-hmm.
The individual that was in charge seemed like they was doing a lot of traveling
Mm-hmm.
with hardly any results.
Mm-hmm. So what would be, if you were reelected, what would you do about that?
Well, I believe that individual has resigned, and I give hope that they find someone new that will move us forward.
Okay, so let's say they find someone new and there's no change.
And then I will be trying to cut their funding like I've done the last 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and use that money for other projects. We need growth. They have helped a little bit, but in just certain areas. Some areas like town of Camden, we've had big property open for years, and
You're talking EDC?
yes,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't even, I don't even know if they even tried to push that on another facility to go in there.
Mm-hmm.
I do know my local council for a town was always trying to do something over there.
Mm-hmm.
The property's actually sold now, and we've got a new business over there. A young couple coming over there, starting a new pumping business, and they keep the place nice, and they're respectable to their neighbors with their trucks going in and out. They don't speed. I mean, they're good people. That's why I want to only do 1-year contracts with EDC and stay within our budget that we're allowed to use. But if they're not going to use their money the way we think they need to be used,
Mm-hmm.
then we can put it towards something else.
So it sounds like you'd still be pushing